It's FoosTalk Live.
You talking to me?
Compelling and lively banter.
Are you going to talk to us?
Talking foosball.
Foosball was how I measured my value as a man. You took that away.
Players and fans, promoters and pros. Unedited and raw.
Talk.
Living in the moment.
We have a lot of important things to talk about.
All while practicing social distancing.
Cool. We'll talk. No big whoop.
Let's get this thing started. FoosTalk Live.
Coming to you live from the studios of Foosball Radio and inside Foos TV. Hey there. It's the 22nd episode on September the 13th, and we are back once again after taking a brief time off last week. FoosTalk Live being brought to you by 518 Prints, one of the best printers of promotional items, t-shirts, jackets, hoodies, and foosball apparel. Visit 518prints.com. FoosTalk also brought to you in part by Foosballers the Movie. Find out more at foosballersmovie.com. Also being brought to you tonight by foosballclubsusa.com. They are promoting foosball throughout the scholastic system throughout the United States. And Foos by Tony and Foos by Brandon. Well, here it is, episode 22 of FoosTalk Live. I'm Tom Robinson. Thanks for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the best of last weekend. Last Sunday, we posted up the 21st episode, which is the best of the summer of 2020. And we're back live this week. And of course, I kind of miss the guys. So miss them so much, I can't wait to any longer here. So from Colorado, from Durango, Colorado, one of the greatest voices in foosball history, still alive and with us, I believe, Jim Stevens. Jim, welcome.
Tom Robinson, great to hear your voice. It's been a couple of weeks. It seemed like forever. I have such a good time every Sunday night hanging out here at FoosTalk Live with you and Mark and Clay and our mystery guests and our special guests. I do have one request, and that is that we do not have my wife as the mystery guest again, please. That was a lot of fun a couple of weeks ago.
Hold on.
She has not let me forget about it.
I got to tell you something. The feedback was phenomenal from that episode, from the 20th episode. Yeah, Amy just killed it, and of course, your daughter, of course, I think stole the show personally.
Yeah, next Sunday is actually my daughter's birthday. So I told her, I said, Ari, I'm not going to take the day off. We're going to do the radio show, but we'd love to have you on to say hi. And of course, that means that my son Kian also requested that he could come on and say hi. So tomorrow, next week is her 9th birthday, and we'll celebrate it a little bit right here at FoosTalk Live.
Very nice. That's awesome. Well, before you know it, Jim, she's going to be asking for the car keys. You realize that, right?
That's weeks away, Tom, I hope. No, looking forward to a great show tonight. No mystery guest, although the mystery is whether the guest will show up or not.
Right.
We hope he does, and that's the world champion Blake Robertson. Of course, Blake won the multi-table world championship last year with Ryan Moore, and he also won the mixed doubles world title on Tornado with Liz Moore. And so you got a lot out of the Moores.
Yeah,
there's a joke in there somewhere. So looking forward to that. And of course, Mark Torres is back with us tonight. We'll have our top 5 foosball states, whatever that means to Mark and I. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit controversial.
Can I vote in this case? Can I actually toss in my own?
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
Well, I'll wait. I'll hold off. But no,
hold off.
I certainly have an idea as to who I'd like to see at number 1. But that's a bias.
And of course, we also have our FoosTalk Live Flashback tonight, a memorable event from the history of foosball. Looking forward to that as we always do with that new feature.
Yeah, I understand.
And you know what, Tom?
Yeah, what's that?
We had a foosball tournament last week, believe it or not. Down in Atlanta, Georgia, the Georgia State event was held down at Nancy's Pizza in Atlanta. And apparently it went well and so far. And Blake Robertson, the man who is our special guest tonight, actually doubled there, as did Liz Moore.
No kidding.
Tony Sprademan.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Sprademan and Eric Hiltner came back to win doubles.
What was the turnout numbers? Do you know how many people showed up for that?
I don't. I saw some video from there. I'm guessing it was in the 100 range or so. And those numbers are just from what I saw with pictures and some video that I reviewed. So I'm sure we could get more accurate numbers. Maybe somebody listening tonight who was there can let us know what the turnout was, what it looked like. And it's just first tournament in 6 months.
Right.
Another one scheduled. I think a couple of them scheduled for October. And possibly November moving forward. And as things are starting to sort of flatten out, perhaps we are getting closer to regular foosball tournaments and getting back to somewhat of normal.
Yeah, no, it's let's hope this is a glimpse of the future, the very near future, as we approach 2021 and can really kind of get back into the swing of things and start the process of getting you back out there to do some play-by-play. I think that's what's really missing, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's been 27 years since I have gone this long without doing a live play-by-play,
Sure.
and it's something I really enjoy doing. It's a lot of work at these events, but it's something that that I do look forward to, and I really enjoy doing. And of course, Mark Torres and I have worked many great matches together, and will again in the future, I'm certain.
Now, I'm wondering,
one other thing before we
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to comment. I was just hoping that you find the proper style mask to wear when you do your first play-by-play.
Yeah, no, I was either Frankenstein or Dracula is what I'm thinking, but we'll see. One other thing before we move on here, that I wanted to thank everybody for the great response on the Inside Foos TV Facebook group. We sent out a challenge this past Friday for international players to let us know what you call foosball or table soccer in your country, in your home country, and really had several great answers. So things that I had never heard before. I knew most of them, but there were a few that really surprised me and informed me and educated me about how it's described in other countries. And here in this country, since we know what it's called here, I asked the group members to show us their pictures of international events they had attended, and many of those were of the World Cup, and really we had some great contributions to this particular Inside Foos TV challenge. So those of you listening, if you want to let us know what it's called in your home country, if you don't live in the United States or Canada, and if you have some pictures of you competing overseas internationally, we'd love for you to contribute to this weekly Inside Foos TV challenge.
Yeah, no, a fantastic idea. And of course, now, we're looking at the globe, and when is everybody going to get back to this, right? When are we going to all get back to the global competition? And of course, everybody out there, I'm sure in their individual neighborhoods across the planet are finding ways to at least practice and get together in smaller groups right now. But what a great idea in Inside Foos TV. Fantastic.
Yeah, and we had some great response. That's one of the things I really enjoy with these reports that I do. Putting out these challenges, and earlier in the year, I know we put out a challenge for people to show us their foosball rooms, and boy, there are some spectacular foosball caverns out there.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun, and also the then and now shows a picture of you in 1978. And what do you look like now, or whatever. And so that was a lot of fun as well. And we're going to continue to offer up these challenges to the members of the Inside Foos TV Facebook group. And again, thanks everybody for being part of one of the best foosball groups on Facebook in the world, for sure.
Jim, whenever we talk about foosball, I always get thirsty. What Jim and I like to do right about this time is to reveal our favorite IPA. So, Jim, I know that it's been, 2 weeks almost here. So I know that we've had an opportunity to take a little time off to really research our favorite IPAs. So tell me, what did your research turn up?
Well, this week I've got a really interesting one. It's one that my uncle, who lives down in Portal, Arizona, actually brought to me. It's out of Tombstone, Arizona. Yes, that Tombstone.
Yeah.
The OK Corral and all that. It's Tombstone's. It's a triple IPA. So let's check in with me here in about 20 minutes. It's a triple IPA at 10%. It's called the Tombstone Brewery's I'm Masking You Nicely. I'm Masking You Nicely.
Wow.
It's a triple IPA. It is absolutely, I've already had one of these. I'm going to have another sip now.
Okay. That explains a lot.
It's delicious. Yeah, it is delicious. Very, very good. And triple IPAs oftentimes, to me, are the best. When a good triple IPA, which oftentimes can be as much as 12% alcohol. So it is, but also it really have a good rich flavor.
Is it in a snifter tonight because because of its power? Of course, it's in a snifter. Yeah, okay, of course,
it has to be.
Well,
it's a must. What about you? What about you? What are you drinking tonight?
I found something that I really like the name of. Actually, it's called Glorious IPA. It comes to us from Lord Hobo. Lord Hobo is out of Woburn, Massachusetts. And Lord Hobo, they've got a wonderful looking can. It's the thing that really attracted me. It's very gothic looking. So let's see what this tastes like. A little bit of a spray on the microphone. That's always good. Oh yeah. Lord Hobo. Kudos to you guys. Good stuff. Oh, this
Lord
is
Hobo. I like it.
Yep. Glorious IPA. That is glorious. So we also want to toast, of course, to our honor group of the week. At our honor group of the week, this time, I got to say, these guys work hard to promote foosball in St. Louis, Missouri. The St. Louis Foosball Group. Now, these guys are busy at least 4 nights a week. They have local tournaments, including they have a special night for beginners, which I think is a great thing for any group to do. And I want to tip my hat to folks like Mike and Neil. Those guys work hard. They really do. They have this special night for beginners. So there's hope for people like myself. But St. Louis Foosball. Do you know those guys, Jim?
I do. And of course, Paul Smith, the outstanding player, who many people think could be a top player, is from there as well. Scott Lively. And the 1977 World Championships, when Todd Lafredo and Gil Jackson shocked the world with their open doubles title, was held right there in St. Louis as well. So there's a lot of history and a lot going on now as well, or at least a relatively lot going on now.
Right.
But those guys do a great job there. I know just about all of those St. Louis guys. Jessica Sandfleben, another, the world champion, 2-time world champion. She's won one in women's doubles, one in women's singles, also from that St. Louis area. So a celebrated part of the country for sure. Will they make our top 5 list? Will Missouri be on our top 5 list tonight?
That's a
I guess
good
we'll
question.
need to see.
Yeah.
Mark Torres is going to join us shortly, and we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of what the top 5 foosball states are.
Well, when it comes to Mark, I think maybe we should shake his tree. What do you think? Mark, are you with us?
I'm here and I'm lurking at all times.
Listen to that.
Wow, what happened? Your voice sounds
sound
different
great tonight, Mark.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah. I sometimes I just like to work on my voice a little bit, guys. And today I'm going to give you Ron Burgundy all night long.
Ron Burgundy. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow. Yeah. So you're taking lessons, huh? And you got yourself a real grown-up microphone now.
Well, I was doing the show and I was doing it with all the haphazard accessories I have for my phone. And then I start to get feedback that, hey, you kind of don't sound like you, and it cuts in and out. So I splurged, and the Santa Fe dropped off an Amazon microphone. So here I am connected.
Nice.
And you get the full like sensuous Toro voice now, you guys.
Oh,
now you just
man, I can't take it.
Everyone quiet. Let me just talk for the next hour. No, fine. You guys talk. Come on. It's all right. You guys say something.
I hear it's hot pink. Is it true the microphone's hot pink?
Is it true what?
Is it true the microphone's hot pink? Is that the one you got?
Clay Toomey would like for it to have been pink. I don't know what it is with that guy in the color pink. He's fixated on that color. I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm cool with pink, but I got the black microphone, and that's what color I'm rolling. But hey, maybe Clay has the pink microphone. He wanted matching microphones.
Right.
Later.
I think your daughters would insist on having their own versions of that pink microphone for sure. Yeah.
It's a serious issue. If I had a pink microphone and my kids would see it and it would vanish.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be the end of the story of the pink microphone. So
Mark, what's been going on, man? I know we haven't talked in a couple of weeks. What have you been up to?
Man, so let me see. Last week was the best of, which was a great show. And the week before that, I think was that the week I was camping?
Yeah.
No, it was, right? Yeah. So so much has not happened between then and now, right? I mean, been staying home and getting out there, not a ton, man. And like trying to run every couple miles, getting some mileage in on the legs while I could still use my joints. But other than that, very, very uneventful.
Okay.
You got a lot going on in New York, though, right? You got a ton going on in your neck of the woods, right?
Oh, yeah. As always, there's always something happening that's interesting here in New York State. Whether it be foosball, that's another thing altogether. There's again small pockets of people who get together to play, but yeah, New York State has been a little sparse. I know Sean Burke, one of our local guys, he's been having folks over to his house, and he's actually got 3 tables. So they've had a couple of small gatherings there, small, careful, and certainly safe. But I'm looking forward to maybe doing that sometime soon. But that's the extent of it right now in New York State, as far as we know, anyway. There could be other parts that are doing other things.
I think we're around the corner, you guys. I think we're around the corner from good things happening, and I'll be excited to get back on the foosball table when that starts happening for us.
Oh, no question about it. So I understand tonight when we go into our flashback series, which is a brand new feature for us, FoosTalk LIve Flashback. This evening, we're going to be hearing from both of you guys from 2006. So, Jim, what exactly was happening that year in 2006? What was it so special?
Well, I think we're going to find out here in just a minute. Why don't you go ahead and let's listen to it, and Mark and I will respond afterwards. How about that?
Sounds good. Here we go.
With great moments in foosball history, this is a FoosTalk Live Flashback.
Low kick effort by Todd, blocked, comes back to him. Fredo down the middle, stolen away by Dave Gummeson. Miraculous steal. Dave brings it across. His second opportunity to win the championship, and he does. Dave Gummeson and the superhuman Tracy McMillan win the 2006 Tornado Open Doubles Championship. What a performance by McMillan and Gummeson.
Amazing. I am so proud of that team, having persevered for years together, waiting for this moment. They deserve every second of it.
The two guys that probably, I don't think deserve it more. Two of the nicest guys you're going to find in the game, and just obviously great players.
Has anybody ever played a better match at goalie than Tracy McMillan?
You see Dave Gummeson right there, acknowledging that fact.
So much heart, so much passion. He scored. Wow, how many did he score? We need to check on that. It was amazing.
Tremendous job by Tracy McMillan. And got to give some props to Dave right there for coming up clutch in that last game. Made some key passes and some key shots.
Listen in next time for another great moment in foosball history. It's FoosTalk Live Flashback.
So 2006, that sounded like a pretty amazing event there. What exactly was going on?
Well, it was the 2006 Tornado World Championships, the first time it had ever been held in Las Vegas that year. And Frederick Collignon and Todd Alfredo had won, I believe, 5 of the previous 6 Tornado World titles, and they were in the finals. That is who Gummeson and McMillan beat.
Right.
And Gummeson, of course, always tough with a great 5 and a solid pull shot. But it was Tracy McMillan who scored 10 from goal in the finals. Also moved up front and scored 1 at the forward position as well. Mark, you remember it well. It was exciting to be there. And no, we were not commentating that from the men's bathroom, by the way.
That was just a big hall. That's all.
No, I loved it. I loved that production there, and it gives me chills to hear that and think back on what a great performance, what a great event that was, Mark.
So 2006, man. So first of all, there was no expectation that Tracy and Dave would win that match. This was steamroller Rico and Todd essentially in their prime of dominance, and the expectation was that they were going to get, one way or another, they were going to lose. It was going to be close. It'd be a nice match, maybe some 4-4 games, and it was such a culmination of an effort and watching T-Mac and Dave struggle over and over to get beyond this team, and it was incredibly gratifying for everyone who had watched that team persevere this far. Also, 2006, I'm incredibly impressed that I was sober because it was Sunday and I was not belligerent. And it was funny, Jim, I think you were 2 years out from formally dating Amy. Is that right?
Yes,
2006?
That's correct.
Wow.
I was about 2 years out from dating my wife. So there's probably a lot of depression that was alleviated in that moment by seeing Tracy and Dave win, because I'm sure Jim and I at the time were mired in the dating scene, and it was just a horrible time. One girl after the other. Oh my God, stop this nightmare. So anyway, yeah, it was amazing.
I choose not to even think about that time period, generally speaking, because of that very thing. But yes, it was 2008 when I met former FoosTalk Live mystery guest Amy Eckhart Stevens, and
in future,
and the rest is history. That's right. But what a great, again, Tracy, and to this day, and here we are 14 years later. To this day, I still believe it is the greatest goalie performance in the history of the sport. Still to this day.
Yeah.
Wow. 10 shots, 10 shots from goal for Tracy. That's now. What is the record? Does anybody know what the record might be for a major? Does anybody is that close to the record?
It's probably more than 10, but here's the unique property about that. I'm sure it's more than 10. But the thing about it is the stage matters, right? The stress, the anxiety of the team.
Right.
And so I'm sure the record for a major I'm sure there's, I've seen incredible performances out of net, and then there's possessions too. But like this particular stage, this particular world championship, and it's not like you're getting a ton of possessions. Right. These are masters playing at the highest level. So they're passing and scoring at a very high percentage. It is a remarkable moment in foosball history. What Team Mac was able to do during that match.
Well, and I'm not 100% sure that someone has made more than 10. The problem with Ryan Moore or Billy Pappas back there pumping home 11 or 12 of them is the match probably isn't going to go 5 games, and that's kind of necessary. Yeah. We have seen Ryan score 3, 4, 5. Same with Pappas. We saw Tracy McMillan just a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, in Kentucky, score 5 in a game. So it does happen, but not, like Mark says, not on that stage with that much at stake against the greatest team of all time for the world championship. And then, of course, they came back 2 years later and won it again over the same team. And the circumstances of that were different. Maybe we'll hear that in a flashback down the road.
Yeah, that would be great to have that follow-up, that second attempt. Just as a beginner, I would like to ask the question of you guys. When it comes to being a good, or shall we say great goalie, clearing the ball obviously is a big deal. But when it comes to the number of, let's say, ratio of clearing to shooting, what's a good goalie going to do? What are they typically? What is their objective?
Keeping the ball. It's like almost a lot of it for me, in my experience, watching a lot of foosball more than playing actually, is like the small things, the nuanced things. It's stopping the slop. It's keeping the ball in your area when it comes through your area. Keeping the ball once it comes off your back wall, recovering it. And then like clearing the ball is a big deal because there's a lot of big time shooters out there.
Sure,
a lot of big time shooters out there. But you'll know even someone who could shoot anything at any time, like Billy. Depending on the competition, these guys hit the ball with such speed, force, and power that they're as scared of getting stuffed or not being able to control the ball when it leaves their 2-bar, as they are just like. That's why you don't see the dead bar pull shot long from the back every time.
Right.
There's a high risk component attached to it. So I think to answer your question directly, well, I'm not sure as much ratio as it is maintaining the small nuance that a goalie does, and whatever decision you make back there, making sure it's a high probability to go back to you or to your forward is more critical. If that makes sense. Yeah. But go ahead, Jim.
Absolutely.
I just jumped in.
No, absolutely. What you say is 100% true. And for me, it's always been a matter of, like Mark says, capture that ball, contain it when it comes into your area, clear the zone, and block the slops. Those are literally the 3 most important things. Even more important than scoring from goalie, and probably even more important than defending the opponent's 3. A good shooter is going to score. If you can get one key block, oftentimes that's enough. Right. You got to keep the slop out. You got to contain the ball, not give them extra possessions, and you got to clear the zone, usually at better than 60%, as we've worked out with Clay Toomey over the years.
Right.
So great points. And for those of you out there listening who want to be great goalies, focus on those things primarily, and the rest of it kind of will take care of itself.
Yeah, it's. I think that especially when people think about the game of foosball, it's like the glory goes to the front, and a lot of times the goalies are, they're scrapping back there, doing what they can, and of course it's great to know how the best ones stand out from the rest.
Yep. Exactly.
Very cool. Well, guys, I know that tonight's top 5 is going to be really fascinating, and I have a feeling a bit of controversy might be erupting here, because we're going to be talking about the top 5 best states. We're talking about out of the 50 states of the United States. Is that what we're talking about here?
Top 5 foosball states, whatever that means to Mark and I. Yes, all the 50 states, Puerto Rico and Guam. Sorry, Mark, do not count here. But nice. It is top 5 50 states. Yeah, Mark's father, I believe, was born in Guam. Is that correct, Mark?
Father was born in Guam. We're Spaniards, Spanish background. But Jim, I don't feel appropriated, and I'm not even going to sue you. So it's fine.
Wow, how about that? It's a good place to start. We've got good.
Hey, we're good, man. We're good.
Good international relations.
Let's do this.
All right, here we go.
Time once again for the FoosTalk Live Top 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, top 5 foosball states.
Jim Stevens,
what does that mean
and
to
Mark
us?
Torres.
Before we start the list, Sorry, I might have talked over your bug there a little bit, but there are different ways of looking at this, Mark, as far as foosball states go. Obviously, we can look at the top 5 current foosball states by whatever parameters we want. We can look back in history. There are different things that would contribute to our opinions on these, and that's exactly what they are, as opinions. And hopefully, as I tell you my list, you'll see that I came at it from a couple of different angles. And how about you?
Yeah, I did the same thing. So I used a little bit of history to give my list some context, and I think there's I'll get into the difference between my 1 and 2 and how I decided. It was difficult. 1 and 2 were very, very difficult, but I think a lot of it is foosball history, and I might have a state missing because I got some feedback
missing,
and I think that one of the well, so like if I had if I had an honorable mention, I could name a state that has all kinds of foosball history, but no longer has a generation of modern current players. So it's just out of reach for me in terms of being able to relate to it because I never seen any of these players play. But to that point, I think Jim and I are going to be pretty right on board. It's going to be states that put out high quality players persistently and consistently and have a history of great foosball.
Well, I can't wait. Let's see what happens.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 5.
So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to name a state and then name the couple of players. And this state has such a rich, strong history, and that history is only getting better right now. And so my number 5 state is Florida, and I'll start off with Johnny Horton, Bobby Diaz, and Tommy Orr. And it doesn't stop there. If we could add Starcheski. And if we wanted to call Tony a migrant who's been there for some time now, I mean, that might be cheating a little bit. But you got Midori out there, you got Blake out there, you got Tommy Orr, and if we want to call Liz Hillmore a transplant from Oklahoma to Florida, you have a rich state with decades of history. This is a state that had the premier pool shooters in the country, stick and wall series, and hammer games all the way around. It was pull shot from the 3-bar, pull shot from the 2-bar, monster 5 rows, and an aggressive, assertive style of play, led by some key players out front there. You got Tommy Orr Sr. and Johnny Horton. Great goalies too. Casey Pruitt was out there. The late great Casey Pruitt. So it's just an amazing state for foosball. Always has been. And I got my number 5 is Florida.
You just ticked off a whole bunch of Florida foosball players for sure by putting them down at number 5. But because when you look at the current day, when you just in that Tampa, Florida area, the players that you mentioned, just about all of them, you looking at it today, you would have to go with them. Now, my top 5, it was 5 was the toughest one for me. Yes, 1, 2, 3 were also difficult 4 as well. But for me, it came down to really the state of Washington. And basically because of the history, because it was the home of tournament soccer, Lee Peppard, Kathy Brainerd out of there, Lotus Leong, state of Oregon. In fact, if we took the whole Pacific Northwest and put it together, it would be a top 5. No question about it. When you factor in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, with guys like Rick Martin, Dan Kaiser, and several great Hall of Famers.
Marcio Bonilla, Kathy Brainerd. Yeah, right. Go ahead.
And you also look at the state of Oklahoma, where you have Kevin Keeter, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame a year or so ago, Tommy Adkison, Liz, who may show up on a couple of states here, Link Pendley, 4 Hall of Famers. And that's kind of what I did. I broke it down also by the number of Hall of Famers. Oklahoma has 4 Hall of Famers. Washington State has 4 Hall of Famers. Oregon also with 4 Hall of Famers. But my number 5 is the state of California, my home state. When you're talking about players like Terry Moore, one of the 5 or 10 greatest players in the world, Greg Perry, a Hall of Famer, Adrian Zamora, Christina Fuchs, the great lady player who was in the Hall of Fame, announced in the Hall of Fame this year. 5 total Hall of Famers out of the state of California. Let's not forget about Trevor Park, guys like Thor Donovan, Chris Doobie, who was a tour champion, won the U.S. Open. Thor Donovan, a goalie war world champion, was always in the mix in doubles and singles. Other great players out of the state include guys like Scott Stewart, who had some top finishes on the Pro Tour, Evan Stachalik. And then going all the way back to 1979, and a Southern California player by the name of Ben Rivera, who had a great couple years on the Tournament Soccer Tour, won Super Doubles in 1979. And then, of course, it's the home of Inside Foos, and I'm at least originally. And so that's got to factor in a little bit as well.
No bias.
Of, I think what happened with Inside Foos over the years and all of that, and not to be self-serving, but I think it's just factual. And but the state of California, with their history, and both in Northern California and Southern California, which are really, as you know, Mark, kind of like two separate states. But for me, number 5 is California.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 4.
Well, my number 4 is California, and I think you mentioned Gummeson as originally from California.
No,
Jim?
he's originally from Minnesota, but did play in California for a bit. Yeah.
Oh, see, so when I started playing, Gummeson was in San Diego, so I gave him, I transplanted him into California. But I got the names you got. I got Gummeson, Terry, AZ, Jeep, Trevor, Thor, Doobie, Fernando, the Statulux.
Yeah.
And then you get people that are great players that were always on the fringe, like Sergi, Dana Marr, James Castillo, Steve Corioso, Ken Lowe. And then you have the greatest, probably the most recognized and influential foosball player in the history of foosball, whose only triumph ever was winning 1990 Amateur Doubles World Championship.
Yeah. Good point.
And that was me. The great lover. The great
good too tonight.
the fiend, Mark Torres. Anyway, I got California number 4 for all the reasons you stated. And don't forget Brendan Flaherty. I don't know where he's from, a cave in California. But it's a great state for foosball and continues to put out great foosers. A lot of guys and gals out there just making their mark still. And so all love to number 4, California.
Yeah, I didn't mention Fernando de Rosa. That's a good one. And Brendan Flaherty, of course, and what Warrior Table Soccer has done over the years as well. Good choices there. My number 4 is Florida. So I had them one higher than you did. And again, it was that Florida attitude approach. There was a distinctive signature Florida way of playing, and it was passed down over the years, going all the way back to guys like Ricky Benitez and another guy that nobody remembers winning a world championship because it was with Johnny Horton, but the outstanding goalie Mike Green, who I know listens here once in a while. But Ronnie Neboy, we left him off the list of Florida players, but he was originally from the state of Florida. Yep, Chris Darcheski, of course, Johnny Horton, Bob Diaz, Liz Hill, as you mentioned, originally from Florida. Tom Yor, the Hall of Famer, new Hall of Famer. And really, when you look at Tony Spredeman's record, most of his world championships were won. His singles world championships were won while living in the state of Florida. Blake Robertson, who won 2 world championships and a gold medal last year. Chris Darcheski, former tour champion, second in the 92 world singles final to Terry Moore. So just a tremendous history of table soccer in Florida. And as I mentioned a little earlier, also currently the strongest foosball area in the world, right there in that Tampa Bay area. Unquestionably, the quality of play there, the top end of players that reside in that area, really off the charts. And so for me, number 4 has to go to Florida.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 3.
So these top 3, number 3 was a little bit easier than figuring out the top 2. But I got number 3, the great state of Texas. And you got Stephen Gina Murray, Steve Simon, Johnny Lott, Laurie Schranz, Gary File, the Morelands, including Brandon, Mike Archer, T-Mac. I mean, you just got these, you get incredible environments, a home of tornado, for crying out loud. And I think there were great wars. You had Florida and Texas and California, Minnesota, all going at it against each other. So can't leave out the great state of Texas, the home of the Texas State Championship, obviously. Just the history, nostalgia, the pull shots that came out of that region. Dead bar pull shots, and all the holes look the same, but everybody has a dead. If you didn't have a dead bar pull shot and you're a Texas Fooser, you were a broken Fooser. So you had a slick 5-row and a dead bar pull shot from your 3-bar. The probably only guy that didn't have a dead bar pull shot, unless he was really working hard at it, was Steve Murray, and he's the winningest of all of them. So I guess that kind of discredits my own encouragement of a dead bar pull shot. But just an incredible show for top-notch foosball. I got number 3, Texas.
Yeah, Texas is another one of those states that has a distinctive style for sure. In bull shots, that's what it's all about. In Texas, they shoot rattlesnakes and they shoot anybody that shoots a snake shot. So, but I have at number 3, I've got the great state of Minnesota. During the 1970s, Minnesota had a high school program that had 10,000 players. Out of that high school program came 5 Hall of Famers, including Jim Wiswell, Doug Furry, Mike Bells, Brent Bednar, and Ken Alwell. I mean, we're talking during the 70s, those 5 guys are some of the best, representing several world championships, super doubles, etc. The state of Minnesota also hosted a couple of the biggest tournaments in history back in those days, as well. It was a regular stop on the Tornado Pro Tour as well during the 1990s. But for me, it's that top end. It's that Wiz and Furry, Bells and Bednar, Ken Alwell, Dave Gummeson, as you mentioned. Other guys like Tom Hansen, one of the great early players, played with Billy Sumption, another guy that, for me, it's that very top end. Now, if Tony Spreadman had been born in Florida, Florida probably would have been at least number 3 for me. And Tony has done the bulk of his damage while living, or much of it while living there. But to me, he's sort of still from Wisconsin, residing in Florida. The rest of these guys, all born and raised in Minnesota, really, at one period during the 1970s, you know, that's the thing about the 70s. It sort of started in Texas, then went up to the Pacific Northwest, then up to Minnesota, then down to Colorado when you're talking about the strongest player bases. So for me, it was really close with Florida. Which one was going to be 3, which one was going to be 4. But I put Minnesota at number 3 really because of that extreme high-end talent during the biggest time in the history of the sport.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 2.
This is just going to be one of those things where Jim and I keep stealing each other's thunder, is what's going to happen. Because my number 2 is Minnesota. And he said the names, right? Wiswell, Furry, Alwell, Bednar, Bells, Tom Hansen, Billy Sumption, Brad Anderson, the great Brad Anderson. You can't forget about the great Brad Anderson.
No, he's been a major contributor.
You told the story, man, of this these environments, these little ecosystems that had an incredible fostering of talent. And these guys drove each other. And I think it could be said for any of these environments that, not being able to be surrounded by competitors that are as driven as you are to be the best at the game. All it did was breed strength and skill and technique in these ecosystems. And absolutely, Minnesota is just a monster for this. Not unlike Florida and Texas and the other counterpart states that gave us the legends and gave us the mythos and gave us the icons of foosball that we wish we saw more of. So it goes without saying, for me, Minnesota is the number 2 state for foosball player development and what we have now.
Yeah, Minnesota also. I don't think they ever played foosball during the summer up there. I think when the summer came, they were outdoors. They were out fishing. They were outdoors. No foosball in the summer in Minnesota. My number 2 is the state I live in now. It's Colorado. When you look at the history of this state, and 1 and 2 were really tough for me. It could have gone either way. But when you talk about Lafredo, Bowers, Mares, Tina Roton, one of maybe the second greatest lady player of all time, Gil Jackson, Tom Spear, Tim Zeke Burns, Bob Maloney, Scotty Weidman, all of whom were either Hall of Famers or world champions. State of Colorado with 7 Hall of Famers in their history, and lots of world champions, more world champions than any other state at the open level. And other guys that we don't even get to, and I'm sure you will if you have them near the top, but Mark Rednicki, Kevin Everson, Bob Gibson, Gus Trevino, Scotty Weidman, Shelley Langley, who's a world champion. So for me, it's my home state. I hope I don't offend anyone, and it was very difficult to really not put them at number 1 because of the fact that Lafredo, Bowers, just legendary players. Mares, one of the greatest players ever. Tina Roton, obviously Tom Spear. How can they not be number 1? Well, I'm going to give you that answer here when we do get to number 1. But for me, it's number 2 for the state of Colorado.
FoosTalk Live proudly presents the top 5. Number 1.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, this was going to be a thing where I'm chasing Jim, because my number one is Colorado. And I'll just repeat the names: Bowers, Lafredo, Spear, Maloney, Mars, Weidman, Rotan, Jackson, Tim Burns, Gibson, Langley, Rudnicki, Everson, including a whole list of expert level players or low level, moderate level pro players that were as good as master ranking and could have won at the highest levels that never really traveled enough or toured enough to do it. And, I spoke earlier about ecosystems like Minnesota and Texas. And so this is what Colorado was, right? These guys were doing it for a living, and they drove each other, and they drove each other on the table, and they brought the game to the next level, and they were cerebral and thought about the game all day and all night, and got out in the country and just destroyed people. And it became a breeding ground, especially under the tutelage of Spear and Lafredo, that so many other players. I mean, who's Terry Moore without Todd Lafredo's tutelage? Who's you can just look around and see how many people were inspired. Right. Who was inspired? How many people were inspired by Todd Lafredo? It's a pretty amazing story in itself, Colorado foosball, and they got to be my number one, Jim. I'm going to be completely impressed by who your number one is, but Colorado number one for me.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. And it was really, really close. And there were three things basically that made my mind up and put Colorado down at number two. As my number one is the state of Texas. And you mentioned the players that come out of there in terms of the Murrays. Both Steve and Gina are Hall of Famers. Tracy McMillan, Brandon Moreland, who you talked about earlier, probably a future Hall of Famer. John Smith, his brother Daniel Smith, of course, doubled at the World Championships. He and his brother Daniel won a couple of world titles. Johnny Lott, who has been so influential in many ways over the years. Laurie Schranz, one of the great lady players of all time. Ronnie Lewis, Steve Simon, you mentioned. 14 Hall of Famers, by far the most out of the state of Texas. That's one of the three reasons. The other two reasons why I put Texas at number one: it's also the home of both the Tornado and Dynamo tables, both of them all manufactured right there in state. Tours run from the state of Texas, and the fact that it was the home to the World Championship for 25 years. It was really, when you thought about the Tornado World Championships, which before they were the Tornado World Championships were just the World Championships, the only one in the world. When you think about them, you think about them being in the state of Texas, in that Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's the quality of players. It's the 14 Hall of Famers, many of whom of these Hall of Famers, 4, I believe, of them, if I'm adding correctly here, were people involved with the development of the tables, the development of the tour. Guys like Ed McLeod, who ran Tornado, Bob Hayes, a Tornado guy, Dave Currington, Bob Furr. These all were Hall of Famers who were instrumental in creating the modern tournament table. Just not forget about the world champion, Eddie Gartman, as well, a great quality player out of that Pasadena, Texas area that developed so many good players. But for me, the 14 Hall of Famers, the fact that it was home to both Tornado and Dynamo and home to the World Championship for most of the history of that event, is why I have chosen the state of Texas barely by a hair over the state of Colorado for number one.
Wow. That's I got to say, I agree with all the things you guys said. Now, I'm not as traveled as you guys, but I do want to toss in my 2 cents here when it comes to the best state when it comes to foosball. If you pardon my bias here, but the Empire State, the great state of New York, awesome, the best. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no,
New York City,
there's some
Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, and people like Kevin Westcott and, Kevin Walker from the Capital Region. And, who can forget Greg Mendel? Some amazing players. These are people who basically raised me from a child. And
I'll even throw in another name in New York, and you know this name as well, Mark. Lou Salkind, who was a great player, great official, a great ran the Players Federation during the late 1980s. Another name from that state as well. So no, certainly some history there, and I'm sorry they didn't make my top 5, top 10.
Let's talk about the future then. Let's talk about the future when it comes to New York State. How about Foosball Clubs USA being based right here in New York State, right? A lot of junior players being developed through that program, and of John O'Brien and the folks there. And of course, I can't forget one of my favorite all-time junior players, Sammy DeJohn, who is going to kill everybody he's going to murder them all.
Yeah, it could be different in a few years. You're right.
Yeah.
New York seems like it's one of these environments that can be just like Minnesota and Colorado and Texas, but even more so. And so remember, when these guys are these guys aren't sending VHS cassettes out to each other. They're tasked to develop in their circle of foosball players, and then they gotta like get out and tour and see what other people are doing. But in New York, with the opportunity to access the archive of Inside Foos, the history, the great library, they can accelerate their games and the skill set and the knowledge of the game far beyond what some of these other environments were able to do just for lack of communication.
Oh yeah.
So
great
New York could be an incredible recipient of so much information and be that environment.
Well, I know you.
Yeah, we talked about Minnesota and the great junior program, the high school program they had in Minnesota with 10,000 players, and it developed so many great Hall of Famers. There's something similar to that going on in New York State now.
Yep. And as long as we can get back to playing, that would be key. That would be very cool. Well, this is a great top 5. It's one of my favorites so far. I don't know about you guys, but I really like this one.
Yeah, and I want to throw in a couple of more honorable mentions. The state of Illinois with Don Shalafo, Tiffany Moore, Don Swan, Chad Hansen. Just some great players came out of Illinois. Tony Bacon lived there for a while, although Tony originally from Michigan. State of Ohio, Steve Viney, maybe the foremost player out of that state. Paul Reynolds had a great run in the early 1980s and late 70s. And Lawrence Patterson, the man who originally brought foosball to the United States, was from Cincinnati. So these also were states I looked at in considering my top 5, and I feel pretty good about it. I know I'm going to catch a little flack from my Colorado, but Texas, looking at the history and all the numbers that I quoted, had to have them at number 1. But that was a lot of fun.
Let me throw some names out, and let me tell you. You tell me if you can figure if you know the state offhand. Larry Folk, Jack Briggs, Joe Snyder, Faye McWilliams, Bev Froome, Karen von Otterstedt. What state is that?
Well, Karen Gilliland, that's Texas. And you said name the other ones.
Larry Folk, Jack Briggs, Joe Snyder, Faye McWilliams.
Snyder out of Pennsylvania, I believe. Folk from Texas, I believe. I'll look that up for you real quick.
Yeah, I feel like gosh, I wonder if these guys were Oregon and Washington at all at one point from Oregon. Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Larry Folk is from Oregon, was from Bend, Oregon.
Yeah. That whole group is an Oregon group. And they're supposed to be so these are lost to history. Like when you think of great foosball, Oregon does not come to mind for me. It's just like, okay. But the Northwest foosball caught the imagination of entire youth groups, and they had the bug, man, and they were like playing really great foosball. And so hopefully we can get back there someday, and hopefully there are mediums and ways to do that. But rebuilding these communities that have a history lost to time would be an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. The last tournament that I worked was the Moneyball event up in Portland, and I've worked it the last 2 years. And when I go up there, many of the players, if not most of them, are over the age of 45 or 50 or even 60, and were around during that era when Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, where Rick Martin, the great Rick Martin, the Hall of Famer who passed away this past year, are all from. If you combine Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, you have 9 Hall of Famers coming out of there.
Wow,
and other folks like. Other players like Harley Park, who was a great push kick shooter, a tour champion in that area as well. So, so a lot of fun. And this is a discussion that we can have endlessly. And I know a lot of you out there listening are also chiming in with your picks as well. So a lot of fun tonight to do this and pick out the best states. And who knows if we're right, who knows if we're wrong. It's just an opinion. But at least it's a pretty well-informed one when it comes to Mark and I. And Mark, I always am impressed by your homework and your knowledge of the history of the sport, because you're always spot on with your top 5s, even if you didn't play back in the 70s and 80s.
I just do my best so I'm not embarrassed by you, because it's like arguing about a librarian where certain books are. There's no reason for me to be. I just got to try to keep up, man. That's the honest to God truth. Just try to keep up with you. So I appreciate that.
Well,
So it looks like Blake is trying to get on. I see he's messaging me now, and he had some challenges with the with his headset, but he's getting a headset now, and he's going to be calling in.
Okay, that's fine. That's good to know.
He's working on it.
Yeah.
He's working.
So I was thinking
and
because
yeah,
we
go
were,
ahead. Go ahead,
I was just going to say we were talking about Texas. That that's also the home of our statistician, Clay Toomey.
Yeah,
so Clay, would you like to chime in about Texas?
Yeah, that's obviously the best. I don't understand where the discussion is on that. I mean, this would be, there's a reason I'm in Texas. It's because it's Texas, man. I mean, had nothing to do with my parents or my family or anything else. It's just where the good Lord wanted me to be.
He's got that Texas twang. It's something about that. Of course, there's the tornado style, which is like a style that everybody in the planet has adopted since tornado came into the scene.
Yeah. And I actually don't really play. I'm probably one of the few people from Texas who actually I literally cannot shoot a pull shot. So it's kind of tough sometimes being Clay Toomey around here because they make fun of me, man. It's like I literally just can't do it. And my natural shot is like the standard front pin. So I get beat up sometimes. They pick on me, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Well, shooting a pull shot takes hard work, character, integrity, and love and emotion. So anyway, it makes sense.
And the greatest pull shooters that I've ever seen is like none of those. So I don't know what your point is.
That
was a jab at me. I see. Okay. I'm slow. Got a bit of a headache right now. You'll have to pardon.
No, I think this is
Tom. Just to kind of piggyback on one of the things you said about how the entire world is playing the tornado style. Really, what it is the entire world is, for the most part, outside of France and maybe a few other areas, are playing the American style, which was originally generated in Texas to Minnesota to Texas to the Pacific Northwest to Minnesota to Colorado. That's when the American style was really created. And then the tornado guys came along and kind of added to that. And then everything, all of the TS style players went to tornado. The tornado pull shot maybe was a little influential in the eventual homogenizing.
Yeah, you can do it.
So, what is that in the background?
Well, I think that actually our special guest for this evening, who has got it technically together now, Blake Robertson.
Oh no! Let me go ahead and state for the fact I had a microphone hooked up to my laptop on Discord, but my mic was suppressed, so I had to run to my car to get this headset. And now I'm walking back to my apartment because of the technical difficulties of tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and say that now.
Welcome, Blake Robertson, to FoosTalk LIve.
Yeah. Sorry if my headset sounds bad.
It's cool.
No, you sound like you're high on life, buddy.
Yeah.
What do you got going on, dude?
What do you mean? Are you telling me y'all are not high on life? Wow.
Dude, you're like Terry Rue. Just started dancing.
Hey, you know what? Terry is one of my favorite foosball players. I'll take that. Absolutely.
He's a stud.
Listen to y'all's top five, though. I mean, did anybody put Florida as number one? Because it's not even close.
Ooh, Florida number one.
No, Blake.
It's not even close. It's not even close. So the open singles 8-time champion lives. Oh, are we talking currently? And you have the current women's Midori Kimura. And I mean, Liz is from here. Johnny Horton, Bobby Diaz, Tom Muir, me, Scott, Todd. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Where are you from, Blake? Where are you from originally?
Hold on, what's that?
Exactly. There we go.
No, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi originally, but I was about to get in an elevator, and I knew I was going to lose service, so I had to stop myself.
You're a man with some energy tonight. Blake is coming with some energy. Blake, hey, welcome to the show, buddy. I'm glad you were able to figure it all out and join us here on FoosTalk LIve. Great to have you. Of course, Blake Robertson last year over in Murcia, Spain, won the multi-table world championship with Ryan Moore, and you played every single ball at the forward position. What was it like having Ryan Moore as your goalie back there for that event? And you guys played so well together. But having Ryan, who's known as a forward, one of the great players of all time, what was it like having that guy back there?
Well, I've played with Ryan multiple times. We were like a 2-time national champion. I've won with him. I've never lost a tournament with playing with Ryan, and Ryan has never played forward for me. Believe it or not, anybody I've ever played with has never wanted to play forward for me, and I've played with some strong forwards. And Ryan is 100% the strongest forward I've ever played with that wanted to play goalie. I mean, we've seen his 2-bar in singles, so like that speaks for itself. And then you add his defense mentally, he's just one of the best to ever in the game. So to have him over there and have the experience, and then obviously I'm not too bad myself. I'm pretty quick. I'm young. I can hang the best. My shot's okay. I had a great time. I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to experience. I wanted to meet the culture. That's all it's about. Like just travel and experience and take everything in, and that's all I wanted. And I feel like I got the most out of everything in that week in Mercedes-Benz.
Legendary play. Blake, this is Tom Robinson. First of all, I'm glad that you're with us. Just as a tradition, we'd like to know about your beginnings. So what was the first time you saw a foosball table, and what kind was it, and how old were you at the time?
So this is going to be, I think I had the $1 million table. It was a brown top, ramps in the corners, slick, very slick. And I used to shoot a push shot. And that was back in 2002. I was about 11 or 12 years old. So it was about 2002, 2003.
Wow, 2002. Wow, that's relatively recent history. But you've come a long way in a very short period of time. What do you attribute your sudden success to? What did you do to make it to the top so quickly?
I would say my dedication has always been pretty good for me. Like when I won my first table back in 2005, I went from amateur to pro within a year.
A year?
And then within a year, like the guy who did the points back then, he called me and he goes, "Hey, you've won enough points to go from amateur." And I doubled at amateur back in 2006. And this is a cool moment for me, for anybody out there, for masters out there listening in. Dave Gummeson and Tracy won the Worlds in open doubles, and me and Daniel Coulter won amateur doubles, and I won amateur singles. And I remember Tracy coming up to me and going, "Hey, you two guys."
Hey, Blake, real quick, your mic's is Mike cutting in and out for everybody else? Is cutting in and out for me?
Just a little soft.
Hey, Blake, what I want you to do is sit down and stop fidgeting and talk in that microphone so I can hear you loud and clear. Okay, my friend? Let's try it out.
All right, so I'm not actually. All right, give me like 1 second. I'm not fidgeting for one, and I have a wireless headset because I'm on my phone. Because the Discord wouldn't work for some reason. But hold on 1 second. I'm going to get in an elevator. Give me I'm getting in there now, so I'm probably going to lose service.
We're taking a tour through the apartment building. I love it. This is great.
Yeah. I live on the 11th floor, downtown St. Pete, Florida. I mean, it's a beautiful view. I'll send you a picture if y'all do visuals. I don't know. But it's amazing. I love it. It's 2 minutes from the hospital I work at. Y'all are probably going to lose me now. Maybe not. If y'all can hear me, that's great.
Yeah. Still there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'm almost off. All right, 11th floor. I'm there. Okay. Getting out there.
You were saying that you won the 2006 Amateur Doubles World Championship, which is a cornerstone achievement for your career, with Daniel Coulter, I think. Is that what you were saying?
Yes. And Tracy came up to me, and he won that's the performance that he put on where he scored unbelievable. One of the best goalie performances, probably we can all agree, as a goalie. And he comes up to me, What?
Yeah, that was actually our flashback for tonight. We actually replayed that the final call of that event tonight. So it's coincidental that you're reflecting back on that same event in Las Vegas when you and Coulter won amateur. When I first met you, when I first saw you out on tour, it really was. It was you and Daniel Coulter, two young players out of the state of Mississippi. Who was going to be the better player? Of course, Coulter's gone on, and it's played well, done well at the national championships and in pro events. But really, you have surpassed Daniel at this point as far as your career goes, of course. My thought is here, you were a member of last year's World Cup team. And I think, Tom, you probably have a couple more questions about his early career, but I've got one as well. 2009, you went over there as, how old were you, 17, 18? And you were on the United States men's team, the first men's team to ever win the World Cup. I don't think you played a lot in the final, but you got a gold medal out of that, didn't you? You have 2 gold medals for Team USA.
I think Blake is taking.
We either lost me or we lost him.
Yeah, no.
His connection was better when he was in the elevator for some reason. Right. I don't know why.
He's still with us, but not connected via microphone. So, yes. So that was what years was he on the men's team, Jim?
Yeah, he was on the 2009 team, and again, he was playing junior events that year, I think, as well. And he couldn't have been more than 18.
I heard a
And he
story
won a
about
gold
this.
medal.
Brendan Flaherty was the coach of that team, and I want to hear this. He told me a funny story about this, but I want Blake to describe it. But I guess they just lost to somebody, and they were in the bronze medal round, and Brendan had some like the worst motivational speech of all time about about how, I don't know, how worthless they were, and you got to pick it up and be Americans or something horrible. But somehow they turned it around and won the match to win the bronze medal. And I don't think it had anything to do with Brendan's motivational attempt.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Well, that's got to be a challenge.
Well,
That's for sure, especially when you're a coach and you're trying to get people motivated to do the right thing. Got to be tough. Got to be tough.
Yeah.
Get juniors especially, right? So
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, Blake's up on the 12th floor and trying to get a signal. But he certainly came with some energy tonight, didn't he? And this is a player. And Tom, you kind of alluded to the fact that how did he get good so quick? And he was very good very quickly. But it took him a while, I think, to learn how to win. And even now, for me, he is absolutely a top 5 player on the Tornado Tour. But he cannot get through guys like Moore, Spredeman, or Pappas. Has not been able to beat any of them in singles.
Okay.
But he kills everybody else. He literally almost embarrasses other players. He is that talented of a player. And so I always kind of felt like he was still knocking at the door. And in fact, he's made fun of me saying that about him so many times. But he kind of did break through, I think, especially last year, winning the World Mixed Championship, winning the doubles with Ryan and the gold medal. Really had a great year on the national and international tour in 2019, and really has become one of the true stars of the game.
So what is it? There's this top echelon of players, and I think the thing that has always baffled me, especially after I've gotten to know more and more about the game, this top echelon of players, they're so tough. A Blake Robertson can't get through. Why is that? What's the difference between a Blake and a Tony? What is the difference?
Well, so it hasn't changed in it. You look across sports, and it seems to be a similar running theme where you have players that can break through every once in a while, but the players that are dominant for a long time.
Right.
And it's especially true in foosball for some reason. And I don't think it's a great mystery. I think it's a smaller pool of players. But if you go back to the 70s, there was a group of guys and gals that were at the top. And so there's always seems to be this normal curve there's this, I think maybe it's 5 to 6% of foosball players at the very, very top to get over the hump and are dominant. And then you have a whole morass up in the middle of the curve that have a very difficult time closing the deal. And they'll eke one out every once in a while, but the dominant players stay the dominant players.
Is it because of their physical prowess? What is it? What's the element? What's missing here?
So I think I don't think you could be any singular value or any narrow. I don't think there's any narrow generalization. It's funny. I've said this more than once on this show that somehow the most talented players also seem to be the players that work the hardest.
Right.
But I think there's nuance to it too. So it wouldn't surprise me if it wouldn't surprise me if Tony has something, and I think Blake is back, so I'll let him speak to this directly in a second. It wouldn't surprise me if Tony has something on Blake's game, if Tony does something, if Tony knows certain tendencies, if Blake has certain weaknesses that he hasn't identified yet, or if there's just a soup of variables that give Tony that extra edge on 3-3 or 4-4 that keeps Blake at bay just enough so he can get past Blake. And the fact that he does it over and over and over is a credit to Tony more than it is any denigration of Blake's total skill level or ability.
Sure.
So there may come a point where Blake figures something out on Tony, and those tables turn. And it's not unlikely that that'll happen. In the interim time, the ownership is on Blake to understand how there's this little margin that he has to overcome. Anyway, I talked a lot. What do you got, Blake?
What's the question? The general question.
Well, we're basically discussing that there's this core of players at the very top of the game that seem to be consistently holding off everybody else. So now you're nibbling at their heels constantly. You're always right there with those people, but without really breaking through and becoming.
I mean, Georgia State, I was 50%. I played Tony in 4 finals, and I beat him in 2 of them. So
okay, all right.
I've been more than nibbling. I'm the open mixed world champion. Let's not forget. Let's get some recognition in the chat. All right. I mean, Tony, singles and doubles. I'll give you that. But this year, even last year with Tommy and Brandon winning, me and Todd had a chance. So, to get playing Tony in singles, right? So I had Tony in King Seed 2-0.
Wow.
At Georgia State. I had him 2-0 in the King Seed match. Sunday morning, we're playing, and I had him 2-0. I was playing great. He was playing great. Well, there was a problem with the tables. The balls were jumping a lot. And, for Tommy or Tony, the way they shoot their rollover, I don't know if y'all, the way they grip it, and sometimes if you notice when they shoot their shot, their ball will jump on them. Well, these balls were jumping even more and more frequently. Like the goal would be wide open and, he would hit the rod. So there was some variables and this and that. So for me, Tony's a champion. The respect level is there. He's a tiger. The guy will do whatever it takes. Win or lose, he's usually going to come out on top. Because, his drive, his just ultimate desire to be, to not lose,
right,
is going to conquer over everything else. Like, I hate losing. Like, it says nothing. I've structured my game. I'm talented enough. I can keep up with Tony. I could do this. I could do that. We go tick for tag. We could do this. We could do that. He's a better finisher than me. Is what I would say that I have to focus on is myself. I need to, whatever else is going on, I just need to be like, you know what, keep doing what you're doing, put the ball in the goal, pass and score. Because sometimes other things like verbal, body language and this and that will get to me because I grew up playing foosball. It's a fun thing to me. I do it for fun. So if I see somebody Tommy, Ryan did it to me at Worlds, he's all joking around doing this, doing that. It's mind games, it's this and that. I don't do well with that. Me personally, that's my downfall. That's nothing against anybody else. I need to just put my head down and be like, me and Tommy played singles and Tommy just, it's hysterical. I don't know if you could find it, but literally I would not say a word, but he'll have the whole crowd laughing and cracking up. And I just smile. I don't know what to say back because I know I'm going to get roasted if I do. So I play foosball. I just stick down. And that level, people can manipulate. Todd's really good about if it's not going in his favor, he's a master at manipulating things to where he knows enough of the game to do something because it's all about momentum at a certain point. If you have talented, truly talented, Paul Smith, perfect example. Paul Smith is super talented. But if you can get him, so I think he had actually Tommy and at the 2-0 at the Worlds 2 or 3 years ago.
Wow.
And then I think something happened with the 2-bar, allegedly. I don't know, or the 3-bar or something. And so they took a 45-minute break, and then Tommy and Ather 3 straighted them. So that's just an instance of killing the momentum. Not to say that all masters do that, but when you want to win, these guys, Bobby, Johnny, Fred, Terry Moore, everybody, they're going to do everything or whatever it takes to be number one. And sometimes, you got to suck it up and be like, you know what, I'm going to take this match head on. I'm going to do the best.
I can say one thing about that. It's very interesting because I was just talking to another master the other day. I won't say his name because he didn't give me permission to talk about it. But he said that if Federico felt challenged or that maybe Federico was off his game and wanted a little edge, if he knew the mental part of it, for this particular person, he would go up to this person and be very, very nice. and like have like be congenial and be conversational. And this person always felt like it was a Rico tactic. It was a Rico tactic to get momentum. Yeah, a strategy.
Yeah,
a mental strategy to gain leverage, and that's exactly what Blake is talking about. And so I mean, Blake comes back to like how important is beating Tony? Is it important enough to you to like have your whatever your own mental strategies are, or whatever your counter strategy? And I don't think Tony's into the gamesmanship. I think Tony is just an animal who wants to rip your head off on the table.
He's a machine.
So
He's just a man. He's a machine. He's a true champion. Like, it doesn't matter. I used to see Tony like look at somebody in the crowd and be like, and just mean mug them, just so that, and it would be nothing personal. It would just legit. It would just.
I get it, dude. I get it. I totally.
He would just motivate him. It would get him angry enough to get to that. So like when somebody goes, "Hey, bro, you are playing out of your mind. How are you doing that?" They don't know. You know why? Because they're playing out of their mind. They can't tell you. They can understand how to get to that level, but to explain the level is just impossible. You can't explain when you are playing out of your mind. But if you get to a certain point, I mean, certain things you can't just walk up to the table and be like, okay, I'm just going to transform. And this is me. Only person I know that can even physically do that is Billy Pappas. Mm-hmm. And he's just the most, it's like, okay, so talent's only going to get you so far. Okay, try to tell Billy Pappas that. That's not going to happen. He is smart enough and talented enough to where he doesn't need a motivator. The only thing that kills Billy Pappas is Billy Pappas. So,
that's true.
So with that, but I'm sorry.
I want to take you back. And we lost you there on the 12th floor. But I want to take you a minute ago. So I answered the question, but let's go back to 2009. You were, I believe, on the United States junior team over in France, but you were also on the men's team. You were sort of the Forrest Gump on that team. Just happened to be there, and you were part of that first ever United States World Cup team. And I don't think you played in the final, but talk a little bit about you, as I believe you were 17 or 18 years old. Being a member of the first World Cup team, and what that experience was like for you back 11 years ago.
So again, I play the game for fun. So I was actually over there with Ryan, Mary, and Melissa Keg at the time. And it was just a general, first time I was in Europe. Everything is amazing to me. I played junior events. I played with Midori and Midori Kimura in doubles. We didn't do so well. We did actually number one in qualifying, but the eliminations, we got put out early, I think, by the Italians. And then I got third in junior singles. But then Bobby Diaz was the wild card. He didn't show up for the team, so there was an open slot. So the open slot was kind of rotated between me and John Zoller. So in the qualifications, I would play around, and then Zoller. So we were kind of like the sub at the very end. And then I think when it got to the actual elimination rounds, I played with Tom Muir, and I think I was the main guy for that slot because it was supposed to be, I think, beat Tom and Bobby, but Bobby wasn't there. So me and Tom clicked better than I think Tom and Zuba clicked. So we kind of wrote it out. We played very well together. I was playing good back then. I was a pro player on Tornado. It was so the World Cup is another experience. It's a team event where everybody that you play against normally on the Tornado Tour, you're playing, instead of playing against them, you're playing with them. And that brotherhood, that connection, I mean, nothing is going to, I mean, you've heard multiple people probably say this, but nothing is going to be better than that friendship, that heart, that connection. Anybody that can feel that, anybody that has a heart understands that. And so for me, I just wanted to take it as much, I wanted to take as much in as possible.
So Blake, and then of course last year you were on the U.S. team as well. This time as a major player on the team after winning that doubles championship, and yet that's still the connection, isn't it? These are guys you play against, but now you're playing with them, and that was still the theme. Although now you were one of the stars of the team.
So like I said, like nothing is ever probably going to compare I actually stayed 2 weeks. I stayed a week after, and I was in Ibiza. I ran with the Bulls, and I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to travel. I wanted to experience the culture. I ran with the Bulls, man. I had a buddy there that flew over like at the end, right when I won doubles, and he hung out with me. We ran with the bulls. I touched the bulls. It was. I had my medals on and my outfit. I mean, that right there is the main course.
Was it
That's the main course.
Bulls, or was it some sideshow where there was like 2 bulls and you got to touch them?
No, it was in Pamplona. It was weird. So it was like, I am going to Spain for a week to play foosball, but foosball is like, okay, it's foosball, but like, I'm going to Spain. Okay, I'm staying an extra week. I want to see what Spain has to offer. That means more to me. So I did Madrid, Barcelona, Pamplona. I did all of that in a week, which was incredibly tough. But I wanted to, and it was the best 2 weeks. But going back as a main player, 39-39, we're playing Iran in like a qualification match. It's not supposed to be that close, I don't think. I'm not going to say that. I love everybody from Iran. Nothing against them. But, on the tornado table, I don't think it – and I got subbed in at the very end. Me and Billy weren't in the lineup. And I did – and I don't know if y'all seen this shot, but on 39-39, the guy blocks me. It goes straight up in the air. Everybody is cheering. And it's 39-39, race to 40. I get blocked. They're cheering. As the ball is in the air, like 3 feet, it goes straight up and literally drops into the goal, and we win the match. Wow. If you haven't seen it, it's unbelievable. It just had to happen. And if you watch the video, you can see everybody's facial reactions, and you can hear it go from like Iran cheering like, "Yeah, we got the block," to dropping in the goal and USA going, "Oh, we won!" And you can see everybody's face. So I shot that shot, and I got subbed in on 36-30. I think it was like 36-36. And me and Terry Rue were playing together. And so that was amazing. And then, playing in the finals with Ryan, and we already won doubles and classic doubles. And me and Sully Rue actually took third in the mixed event. Nice. And we went I choked. They played great, but we had them 4-1 in the 5th, and I couldn't close on the Bonzini. I'm terrible. No experience in the Bonzini. I should have let Sully come up there and roast one. But, hindsight's 20/20. That was great. But we took third, though. We did the best out of, Team USA. We took a medal home. We took bronze. I was proud of that. And so the whole experience.
So Brendan was your coach, right?
Who?
Eddie? Brendan Flair, you don't even know who was your coach. Brendan Flair.
No, Ezekiel, Iceman. Iceman was the coach.
I got my years mixed up. There's a whole story behind the year when Brendan was coaching the junior team, and I won't belabor you with the story, but I'm sorry I've been interrupted. Keep going, man. I'm listening to you.
Yeah, Blake's really coming with the energy tonight. He'd make a cup of coffee nervous.
It's Sunday fun day. I'm here. I was watching football. I was out with some friends, and I was excited. I was thinking about the top 5 and this and that. And, I love foosball. I've been genuinely playing foosball for like the longest time, and foosball has saved my life on so many occasions that I could talk on another whole different podcast for a different topic for like many of hours. But I'm just excited and blessed at all, and I can talk about foosball, and I can talk about whatever y'all want to, whatever, if you want to talk about experience, you want to talk about master level, you want to talk about playing Tony, going 5 games and this and that, I'll do whatever.
Tom, what do you got for
me? So Blake, I was wondering, since we talked about the top 5 states and the top 5 this evening, what are your top 5 states? Of course, I know Florida's your number 1, but what are the other 4? What are the other 4 top?
All right. I'll give you my top 5. So when I was first told about this, I was like, so what are we doing currently or past? And they were like, currently. So I said, okay, let me think about currently. So currently, Florida, if you don't put Florida in number 1 to me, that doesn't make any sense to me. You have, the open doubles champion, you have Tommy Yore, you have the open singles champion, Tony Spreedeman, you have the open mixed champion with me, you have Naduri, the women's, you have all the tornado champions in Florida, and not to mention everybody else that I'm not even going to talk about. So for me, Florida is number 1. That's just me. So I did currently. So I did number 5. I did Oklahoma. And that might be weird, but you got Ryan Moore, right, who, is arguably in the top 3, best player, is great. Well, he's a legend. He's great. You got Tommy Atkinson, multiple world champion. You have Liz Elizabeth Moore, you have her, world champion, current open mix champion. You know, you have those three players, and they have obviously a great player base. And I love what they're doing in Oklahoma right now and building it, and they're having great tournaments. Mm-hmm. So, like, that was number 5 for me. Now, the next 3, the 4, 3, and 2 are pretty difficult. I mean, so my 3 states are going to be Colorado, Texas, and California.
Those are my
that's solid.
So those are my 3 states. So, like, let's remember, I'm doing currently. If we add in Bowers and you go back to the 70s and stuff like that, and, you know, Texas and Colorado are going to be tough, and obviously California is going to fall in behind them. But I did currently. So currently at this state, I put Cali at 4. Cali at 4. You know, they got a great. I mean, they got one of the. I call them the sexy 5-bar state. I mean, Fernando De Rosa, Trevor Park, all those guys. You know, Serge, all those guys got the sexiest 5 bars. Yes, they all got it, and so, like, they were my number 4, and then you have Colorado and Texas, and now we could go back and forth about, you know, Rob Mares, and we can go with, you know, Todd and this and that. And they got a great player base. I love what they do in Colorado and Texas. Texas is, I mean, I was close to Texas, so I know all those players like Sean McMillan. I know, you know, Tracy and Sean. I know John Smith. I know, you know, they got legends. Brandon Moreland, current, you know, open doubles world champion. So,
yeah, Blake, if you get a chance, come back and listen to the show from before you came on, and you can kind of hear what Mark and I thought about that. You're pretty close. You certainly have. I think the only one you left out was Minnesota, and that's a historical reference more than anything. Although still some great players from up there as well. But if you get a chance, listen to what Mark and I came up with, and certainly we can't argue with anything you're saying, especially from your perspective and looking at it from the strongest states today. And Mark and I both, I think, mentioned that right now, if you were to do it right now, certainly Florida would be number 1.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, so I did it currently, and so that's how I kind of took it. And, you know, I mean, it's kind of tough. You know,
all right, let's hear your bottom 5 now.
My bottom 5: Hawaii, Alaska. We're gonna do Maine. I don't know any players from Maine. You know, the Virgin Islands, did they count? Yeah, you know,
Virgin Islands.
I love it. So
and Hawaii's never going to be number 50 except for the number of the state itself, but Hawaii's got to be up there top 15 or 20 just because it's Hawaii.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's chat about the future. Let's talk about 2021, which is the next World Cup. What's on the agenda for you? What are you going to do to prepare for that?
That's a fantastic question. You know, I'm so happy, Tom, that you asked that question. Just go ahead and say that. So my preparation as an actual foosball player is just to make myself better. So I am very subjective, I believe, especially in the later couple of years. I feel like once you get to a master type of level, you have to be open to, you know, criticism, or you have to be open to, you have to watch, you have to study, you have to understand. So my thing would be to stay sharp and make sure that, like, I'm still competing at a high level. I'm still on tour, you know, I'm going to tournaments. If tournaments come back, I'll be ready for nonce. As far as the multi-table practice goes, I believe I'm pretty good on all the tables. I mean, even when I was over there in Spain, me and Sully beat Yannick and who did Yannick Correa play with in the mix? But he had the Bonzini table, and he played with Cindy DeFont from Luxembourg, and they were tough. And we went 5 games with them. So as far as getting ready for Team USA, I would think the most important thing would be to just multi-table practice, play on the different tables and just play. And, you know, Terry Root told me a great tip. We were playing mix, me and Sully, and Terry was watching, and we're playing Garlando, and I could not execute. And he goes, hey, bro, it's not like the tornado. Literally take 80% off everything you're doing and you'll be amazing. And I literally didn't miss a pass or shot after. And I just blitzed them. So I feel like my skill level is really, really, it's up there. And so like the parts where I have to tweak is the knowledge behind what I don't know, which I have great people behind me to tell me about that.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, here's a question from Reese Roberts, who wants to know. He's specifically sending a comment. In the future, do you think you will travel to Europe to compete in any of the major tournaments, in particular the Leonhardt, Orlando Bonzini, and Roberto World Championships?
All right, so Rice Roberts, that's a good question. I was actually planning to attend the Leo Worlds this year, which is, I think, was scheduled for a week after, or maybe 2 weeks after the Tornado Worlds. So that is up there. And one of the reasons is I like to genuinely play with my friends. Like I play all my tournaments with, usually like I like to play with my friends. I don't just go like, this guy's a good player, I'm going to play with him because he's the number one rated goalie. Like, no, like if I'd rather play with the pro that I grew up with in Mississippi that I could have more fun with. So that was always a thing for me. But I was going to go over to Europe and play a tournament with Billy Pappas, man. So Billy's been in Florida. I don't know. So that's another reason why you can put Florida as number one. I'm claiming Billy for Floridian. He's been here for the past 8 months.
Hey, he's from
he is now a Floridian. So me and him were talking. We hang out a lot. We eat a lot. We Mr. and Mrs. we like to eat Mr. and Mrs. Crab. I don't know if you've ever been there. You need to go if you haven't.
So flavors of Mountain Dew are there now? Cool. I don't know.
Yeah, Mountain Dew, right? So like he's got a bet right now that he will not drink one soda for the next month, and it's $100 bet. So essentially, if he drinks a soda, it's $100 soda.
He must be grumpy as hell right now. He's like Dobby right now, hitting his head against a bedpost, probably.
Yeah. So I mean, like he's got some goals going. And Terry Moore, by the way, saw him in Georgia. He was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna start practicing this and that." And I'm like, he's like, "Oh, I miss it." I'm like, "Hey man, get back in the game." I would love to see, because Terry Moore, I was watching him play, man, and he made every right decision that I think I've ever. The 95% of the players, but he could not execute. He'd hit the corner, he'd do something like that. So his results were not that good.
It'll be scary if Terry decides to come out and play goalie for a top-notch forward. Look out, the dude.
If he's practiced.
And apparently living in your home state of Mississippi now, I believe I saw. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. He just bought a home. There, and he just told me about it. But yes, he is in Mississippi. He's working out of Mississippi, like North Mississippi, almost like I think he bought a house close to South Haven, I want to say, but maybe a little north. He's kind of close to Tennessee, so he's been kind of hitting those Tennessee Knoxville tournaments that they've been having. But yeah, he's been coming around the scene, which is, I haven't seen Terry Moore since 8 or 9 years.
Wow. Blake, I'm going to ask you a tough question, okay?
Oh God!
So, get ready.
Your seatbelt.
Put your seatbelt on. So you have a great run right now with Liz Hill. You're dominating open mixed in a lot of ways, right? I mean, you guys are a superstar team, and you're really fortunate to have Liz on your team to help carry you through the tough spots. I've been around the game for decades, and so I'm the last person to judge, right? I'm kind of the poster child for underachieving. Like, don't ever practice, and never even got to a place where I probably shouldn't even be on this radio show. That's how poor my foosball pedigree is. But you have a different reputation. And there have been a number of guys like you, super talented, have all the skill set, brilliant at the game, but you got some nemesis that keeps one-upping you in the finals of singles and doubles. So we kind of danced around this earlier in the radio show, and I'll go back to, I'm the last person to judge, because if it's not in your
you're good
interest or commitment to the game, to win at the highest level and get past Tony and Ryan and whoever else, Tommy now, it seems you're going to be challenged by if you're not playing with him, unless you're playing with one of these guys. Do you have it in your competitive interest or passion or dedication or commitment to find out how to beat these guys and beat them? Or are you kind of having your fun and you're perfectly happy?
No, 100%, 100%.
Go ahead, please respond.
Yeah, are you willing? Yeah, are you willing to make the sacrifices necessary to do that? I think is what it oftentimes comes down to. And again, as I said earlier, Blake, you kill everybody. You really are a dominant player. But there's 2 or 3 guys, maybe only 2, that you have a little bit of difficulty with.
Yeah. All right. So you are correct. Those 2 guys, I have trouble with. You are correct. And Ryan is kind of, I believe, on the way out because he obviously is doing the family life. So really, he has to come out. Tony and them. So my thing is, like I said, it goes back to the structure and the foundation of why I play foosball. I played foosball second, and school and life came first. Like, I wanted to be a friend. I wanted to be a good friend. I wanted to be school. So that came first. And so I believe for Tony and Ryan, like that, foosball came first. So they would do whatever it took, and they are so good mentally. They are so good mentally. They're true champions. They truly are. So to answer your question is, I know what I have to do to win. I do. I completely know what it is. I have to bite my teeth when I'm up, and I usually have the lead on these guys. I do. I have my hand on their throat, but they're so good. They're masters at wiggling out and finding a certain thing to trigger me or make me come down from 100% to play 80%. Tony looked at me in the middle of our match at Georgia and goes, "Hey man, I know you're upset because there was a call that happened and I jarred it and I tried to get the point back. I jarred a shot on the 3-bar and his 5-bar came down, so he reached for the 5-bar to pick it up, and I went into a pull kick because it's set up perfectly, and I scored it. And he kind of like mentioned it to me, and I tried to give the point. I was like, okay, yeah, 100%. I did jar it. My recoil was jarred 5-bar. I saw the hand go up to the 5-bar, but I don't know why it did. Now that you tell me that, okay, 100%. But instead of taking the point, he gave me the point, and I things like that bothered me a little bit, but that was just because that shouldn't bother me. I should take the point and be like, you know what? I'm winning this match. I'm going for it. I don't care. I'm going to keep going and going and going and pushing myself. I don't care about anything else. I'm putting the ball in the goal. I'm going to be a champion. I'm going to be a warrior. And I would say in the past years, to overcome Tony's heart or to overcome Ryan's mental game or to overcome whatever, whoever you're playing, which usually, I played all these guys, you have to.
I'd like to offer my perspective on why I think that you don't beat them, if I may.
Please.
And for me, it is these guys are the masters of adjustment. Blake, many times I've seen you come out and really be in control of a match. They'll make an adjustment against you, and then you do not make the adjustment back. And this is the high end skill. This is being able to have a feel for which adjustment to make and when. It's something that only the elite players really have at that highest level. And for me, your skill, you have all the skills in the world, no question about it. But for me, the one thing that they do better than you, and again, I have you right there with these guys. You are a absolute top 3-4 player in the world. Is the ability to make the adjustment to their adjustment, and
I would agree.
Where, for me, it's why you haven't been able to get past just those 2 guys. And really, that's it.
I don't have any problem playing or doing anything. Even Billy, I played Billy here, and he's out of practice. Those 2 guys are truly legends of the game. And as far as Tornado foosball right now, or even multi-table foosball in general, those 2 guys have changed the script, have wrote the book, and they could rewrite it. And they could probably tell you way more than I can even begin to fathom. And I love playing them. I love the enjoyment. I love the challenge that comes with it. And every single time I play them, it's a different challenge. And you're right. it has to do with the adjustments, and the adjustments are always different. It's not the same adjustments, which makes it kind of it makes it difficult because like, you know, if I see something, I'm really good at like remembering and learning from it. I mean, that's my whole life is adjusting to life. Like that's another discussion. So when it comes to foosball, but if I get approached with a different situation, those guys hit me with a different adjustment because of I adjusted to the last situation that I was in, and you know, now it's a different situation, and now they're adjusting to this situation, and now I got to adjust to this situation. So like,
yeah,
it's an absolute, you know, journey, and it's a love, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it, and I hope it never ever goes away. But that, I mean.
So give us a scenario here. I'm very curious when you were coming up, and of course you got really good really fast. What match can you remember where you stepped into the match, let's say as a relative newcomer, and you said to yourself, I'm going to lose this match. These guys are going to kill me, but you turned it around and you beat them. When
you know, that's actually, as soon as I had no idea what the answer to that question was until the very end. And so the first match that's actually going to come to my mind would be, so like to me, that's like an upset, right? So like it's a match that I shouldn't win, and I'm in the match, and you know, there's no reason for me to win this match. So the match that comes to my mind is Texas State 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And Tracy McMillan and Mike Archer are playing together, and they are the #2 seed in the Texas State tournament. And me and Shannon Coley, who I just played Georgia State with, that's actually, like I said, I like playing with my friends. He was a guy I grew up with in Mississippi, one of my partners. His brother, Dewey, I used to play with a lot too. And so me and Shannon are playing open doubles. We play them second. It's Tracy and Mike's first round match. They had a bye, and it was our second round match. And we go 5 games, and we had everybody in the room watching us. And it was the most people I've ever seen watch one of my matches. And I am shaking. I just have to look down at the table because I don't want to look up because there's people standing on people. So like we're playing on table 6, and so the stands are facing tables 1, 2, and 3. There's people not watching table 1, 2, and 3 and standing in the stands and overshadowing. I mean, it was a crowd of people. It was the coolest thing ever. We go 5 games. We go all the way to the very end, and I even remember Shannon threw me a wall pass, and I hit a rollover, and I hit a straight, and we ended up winning that match. So to me, that would probably be that match is one of the matches that I remember growing up to where it's like there's no reason for me, and we're 2 amateurs. I'm an amateur.
Wow.
I am an amateur. I am 15 years old playing with Shannon Coley as a forward. 15, 2006 Texas State, Tracy and Mike, second round. This is their first match, and we upset them. And it was a first round upset for Tracy and Mike. And we ended up going all the way to the semis. We played Charles Brick, Chris Reyes. You know, we kept going. We ended up getting 5th at that tournament. We won all the amateur events. I think they had the semi-pro playoffs. So we ended up winning so basically that tournament, I actually won my first foosball team. I was sponsored at that tournament, I guess I should say. So I actually won like $3,000 out of all the cash prize money. And so half of that went to my sponsor. So my sponsor took that $1,500 and said, you know what? I'm buying you a foosball table. And he bought me and Shannon our first tornado table, I should say. I had the $1 million table prior, but yeah, that was.
I love the drama and the thematic of it, that you had people that were literally standing on top of each other, maybe 12, 13 feet high, standing on top of each other.
It felt like that to me. It felt like So like in the stands, they're in the stands and they're like standing on top of the top row, and I'm like, oh my God, they're so high up. But yeah, I mean, it was just a crowd of people. It was probably I would say at least 30 to 50 people, I would say. And it was, to me, as an amateur 15-year-old playing 2 guys that I have no business to be in the ballpark with.
Right. That sounds like a plot of a movie.
I mean, so like this game is, I mean, it's foosball. You gotta love it.
Yeah,
they did. They made a movie about it. It's called Schindler's List, and some people survived. Some people survived. So.
Not a good reference. Sorry, not a good reference.
I love that story though. That's serious, Blake. I love that. You're 15 in a pit match versus two guys that probably should win that tournament. Did they come back at all and do anything at that tournament, or was that it? Into the gutter for them, and they never play together again, which is equal.
You'd have to ask Tracy and Mike that question. I don't know the answer.
Well, that's Mike's dude. I'll say, hey man, that loss to those amateurs in 2006, that ended your career.
Yeah, you have to ask them, man. I have no idea.
Man. Yeah, as we listen to Blake, though, guys, the one thing that really comes through strongly is your enthusiasm, your love for the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're really what it's all about. Obviously, incredible skills on the table, but such a positive, fun-loving presence as well around the tournament site. And just again, the passion, the love, the enthusiasm for the game is really obvious, and I hope it's something that all of us who are listening, and those of us involved with the sport, can really learn from and remember as we move forward and try to get back to normal here. But Blake, that's one thing about you. Your heart is huge. Your enthusiasm and love for the game, very obvious.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to speak from, what it means the most, because I have no reason not to. So like, that's the reason why I love this game, and I could talk about it for years, and I probably will be talking about it for years.
Sure.
So.
Man, you're a lot of fun. I mean, just like the delivery and the casualness, you're a lot of fun, man. And I think you're good for the game. And I'll tell you what, dude, and this is no criticism, because I have no criticism. If you don't, there is something about smelling blood in the water and going for the jugular and taking people out, like sweeping the leg, Johnny, if you know the Karate Kid reference. There's something to that, to winning against these guys at the highest level. And if that's not in you, it's not in you. But if it is in you, that's what you're going to need to do. Yeah, making the adjustments for sure. I think that's how you keep your head in the game. That's how you stay in the moment. You're self-aware at all times what's happening on the table. But outside of that, it's willing to look at these guys as meat and tear them to pieces when you need to do that. And maybe that's in your character. Not, you always have to do that, but to beat these guys, you're going to need to do that. So time will tell if that's a bridge you want to cross. To beat these guys over and over, it's going to take that.
I can say it. I can say it over and over. Like, yes, that's exactly what I know how to do. And I mean, time will tell. But I definitely I have so much respect for Tony and Ryan, what they are and who they are. And like I said, the challenges are challenges I've never faced. And I don't really typically have any issues or nothing like that. So, I mean, it is that thing to where it's like, once I have them down, I need to put them away and establish it, and then basically take control and exert dominance, and be that person. It's like the art of war, right? And it's like, it's a battle. It's a great book if you haven't read it.
Sun Tzu. It's a good book.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically
Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. That's another one. Hey man, listen, I'm in high level sales, and it's and I have that. It's a dog eat dog. It's I compete for a living. I have not applied that to foosball, and so that's what you need to do, right? You're gonna have to apply that art of war to foosball, and it'll be exciting, man. I'm looking forward to watching you, continuing to watch you grow and develop, dude, yeah, man. It's going to be fun.
I've been great, man. My past 3 years have probably been like my best years. Like I said, 2018 and doubles is where it's at. And I've been tweaking my singles game to try to do the best strategy, as far as maybe if I have to start 2 to 5 in it, just because it's more productive than shooting. Like I'm tweaking everything. I typically, and this is just life in general, I want to learn. I want to do the best I can do, and I want to be the better person that I was yesterday. I want to be better today, and I take a high level to that. I want to grab it, and I want to be the best. So I'm gonna keep striving as long as it's, if it's okay with me. I'm still applying for school, so I mean, but right now I have like a 6-month break, so I'm doing that. So right now, I'm all in, whatever it is.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, exciting to witness this in progress, and of course, the future for you is wide open. Wide open.
Yeah, for sure. And Blake, for years I said you were knocking at the door.
Knocking on the door. Yep.
Back about that, and you were knocking at the door. Well, these last couple of years, and certainly last year, you busted that door down. No question about it. You are one of the great players in the game. There's no argument about that. And we see nothing but great things for you coming up. And really, thanks again for making every effort to join us here at FoosTalk Live tonight. Great job last year. Great job over the weekend. This past weekend, as you doubled. You won mixed and singles, right? And so
no. I did mixed in the DYP. I took second in singles and doubles.
Oh,
right.
I had king seed in doubles, and Tony and Eric double did me and Shannon.
By the way, what was the turnout like in Georgia? What was it like?
Man, it was great. It was they had I think 40-something teams. I mean, as far as the women that showed up, I mean, women's doubles there was like a world-class caliber.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some of the best women in the world there, we played Cindy Head. Me and Liz beat Tony and Cindy in the finals of mixed at the, and they beat us the first set. We won king seed, and then they beat us the first set in the finals, and then we ended up winning the second set in the finals. So Liz has been playing great. I hope to keep riding that ride with her in the open mix. And, I'm hoping to be in Louisiana. I don't know anybody out there listening right now. Louisiana in a month. I might make an appearance if they have it at the hotel. So
cool.
Yeah. So that's gonna be fun. But it was nice. Tommy Atkinson was there. One of my, I love Tommy. Great guy. It had a Calcutta. I haven't done a Calcutta in probably the early 2000s, back in Jackson, Mississippi days, there was more money in the Calcutta than there was in the open doubles, which. I think Tony and Eric went for. I think me and Shannon went for like 900, and I think Tony and Eric went for 1,300. So I mean, that alone is $2,000. So I mean, it was, given the amount of tables they had, 11 tables, and the amount of players that they had. Donna Wilson was there. They did a great job running the tournament, making sure it was a small area, so it was kind of like they ran it. They ran it good. It was a fun time. Terry Moore was there. I hung out with Adam and Don I was there for a week, so I kind of hung out with them for a little bit, a couple days. And I mean, I was just happy to be playing foosball, to be honest.
Cool. Well, you give us hope for the future. There's no question about that.
I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate y'all inviting me onto the show, and I love foosball, man. So anytime y'all want to talk about it, send me a text.
Yeah. That's Blake Robertson, who obviously loves foosball. And again, Blake, hope to see you in person here soon at some point when the tour really resumes full force, and of course, hopefully on next year's World Cup team as well, if there's a World Cup next year, which we are hoping. But thanks again for joining us. We're right up against it here. A little bit of time left, not a lot. You guys have any final questions for the great Blake Robertson?
Well, I just want to let Blake know, in no uncertain terms, you are welcome on FoosTalk Live anytime.
Oh, thank you so much, man. That's
the worst decision you made in a long time.
Oh,
Tom,
no. Hold on a second.
FoosTalk Live,
that's Mark
or as
talking.
it's known tonight, the Blake Robertson Show.
Hey, I got a lot of showmanship. I take pride in it, baby. Come on, DJ Breezy coming in, gonna make it live for all the football players out there. Let's get it. No, I appreciate it.
Not at all. So thanks you once again for joining us on FoosTalk Live, and we're looking forward to the very near future and your success.
Thank you so much. I can't wait for the tour to kick back up and to see everybody back there. So maybe we can reconnect then, and we can talk about it.
Absolutely, let's do that.
Man. Thanks, Blake.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Hey, Blake. Talk to you soon, man.
Later.
Wow, so
man, I don't think I'm not gonna be able to sleep all night. I don't think. I'm pretty wired after that.
I got to download this episode. I'll tell you, it's something that I'm ready to do it. We've actually got a Okay, I think we've got a couple of seconds here, so I'm just going to ask you guys' opinion here. Blake is he's definitely an enthusiastic character. Has he always been like that?
So is this before the accident? I mean, yeah, no, he's just full of energy in life, man. He's a fun guy. That's the only Blake I've ever known. I don't know, Jim. Is there another one besides that?
Well, no, he's always been a fun-loving guy, no question about it. But I think, you know, and early on, maybe when I first got to know him, maybe there was a lack of direction to some point. But I think he really found his way several years ago, found a career that he enjoys, found his comfort zone when it came to foosball, really matured, I think, as a man.
Sure.
And it is shown in the improvement of his game. And again, it comes down to not worrying about who you're playing, not worrying about whether Tony is saying things to you. You're simply playing Tony's game, Ryan's game, making the adjustments to what they are doing on the table. And as soon as he gets to that, we're looking at a guy who certainly, I think, has the capability of us talking about him in that same breath with a Ryan Moore, Tony Spreadman, Billy Pappas type player. He's got that kind of talent, and it's such an athletic player on the table. But again, it comes down again to mental toughness, discipline, and it remains to be seen maybe a little bit whether he can get to where he needs to get in those areas.
And it's safe to say that he's certainly a future candidate for the Hall of Fame. Would you say?
We'll do some more winning. I mean, he's got to win. I don't know. Jim is a member of the Hall of Fame selection committee, so he'd know about the criteria more than I do. But from what I can see, if he continues on his run of open mixed, open wins, that certainly may get him knocking at the door. But usually the Hall of Famers are typically winning open doubles, open singles, and other events, worlds and otherwise. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, and generally in multiples. Generally in multiples, a couple of either open doubles, open singles world championships. He does have the one open doubles or rather multi-table doubles win, which I think counts. And so, he is a player certainly we will look at down the road. He still has a little bit of work to do when it comes to Hall of Fame consideration. But he's got plenty of time to do it. Still a relatively young man. I'm thinking he is just now pushing 30. And so plenty of Blake Robertson still to come.
Yeah, look, that's very exciting to say the least for the near future. So, guys, any parting shots here? So, Mark, what would you like to finish off with here tonight?
It was good just getting back. It's amazing how we can talk for 2 hours, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it. It's because talking foosball, it's our love. I'm sure, I mean, because we love foosball, it's our obsession, it's our addiction. We can talk about it. We do it. We play foosball tournaments all day long, and then we continue to play, and then we talk about it. It's our thing. So it's always funny to me looking at the clock and realizing, man, I just talked about foosball for 2 hours. Right. I don't feel tired. I don't feel burnt out at all. And so that's the fun part of it.
I don't think any of us didn't do much talking, did we?
Well, I mean, you got to guess with a lot of energy like that, and then you get a lot of good content. You want to put it that way? It's a lot of fun, man.
Well, and for me, each of these Sunday night shows for me really gives me a chance to refresh my memories of the history of the sport and how rich it is and how many great characters and how many great players we've had over the years. And tonight, again, a chance to do that as we've looked back at the top 5 Foosball states while also bringing in 4 or 5 other historic foosball regions of the country and talking about it really, really, again, kind of brings it all home for me. The history of the sport as portrayed in the movie Foosballers, it's just so rich and there's so much to it. There's always stories. Blake Robertson with his stories, Mark Torres with his one story that he has about the 1990 World Championships.
Never gets old.
But it never does. It never gets old. And again, the love of the game that Blake Robertson expressed tonight, I think, was contagious for sure for all of us.
Well, I got to say that you guys, of course, Jim, of course, you bring up a really important point here. It brings to my mind the summer of 2020 or the year of 2020. Yes, it's been some of the worst. Okay, it's some of the worst in history, but this year for foosball has been some of the best. Because of Foosballers, because of ESPN and the Murcia, the World Cup being broadcast on ESPN, and I think it's never been brighter as far as the future of foosball is concerned.
Yeah, in many ways you're right. Obviously, the loss of tournaments is missed, but it's also given some of us a chance to look at other things that we can do, other ways that we can that we can develop foosball and promote the sport, and
Yep.
and giving us the time to look at some of these things moving forward, to where when we do hit this tournament season once again, we are going to hit the ground running. With all the different things that we have been learning and developing during this time, including what we're doing at Inside Foos TV. And I think we have great confidence. I think Mark as well, moving forward to where this sport can go and will go.
Yep.
In the next few years.
Yeah, it took this moment, this pause in a way, for us to kind of gather our collective thoughts and say, okay, we could do it better. Let's do this.
Let me just take one shout out to that in particular. So the great Jim Stevens has been running around with his cameras from foosball tournament to foosball tournament, putting about an incredible product and developing his business. And he's truly the global voice of foosball.
Oh yeah.
What the pause has allowed Jim to do is revisit his business and look at a much more diverse way of delivery. And so I'll just say this: there are some incredible things coming around the corner for Inside Foos. I'm excited to have visibility to, and it's going to be some fundamental and elemental changes that only serve the community.
Nice.
And I'll just leave that out as a teaser. But what happens next with Inside Foos?
That sounds like a whole show in itself, for sure.
It certainly
eventually.
Is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, guys, another successful weekend. Episode 22, can I officially say, is now in the bag.
Amazing.
Catch 22. It is. Yeah. 22. Hard to imagine that that they'd want us on the air for this long, Tom Robinson. And here we are.
I don't think they have a
22
choice.
weeks later, and we're still going strong and still keeping it fresh as much as we can, for sure. Although, folks out there listening, we'd love to hear. Please send it to Tom or myself or Mark, your ideas and what we could do for top fives moving forward. We'd love your input and your interaction.
Yeah, and in addition to what topics do you think you'd like to hear us talk about? I mean, as far as anything, as far as within foosball, what are we missing here? What do we need to talk more about? What would you like to hear more about? We want to hear it from you. info@foosballradio.com. And Jim, your website, your email address?
Inside Foos1. Yeah, insidefoos1@gmail.com. Of course, Facebook Messenger also always a great conduit to any of us. And we'd love to hear from you.
All right. Well, our thanks to Blake Robertson for such an entertaining evening. Also for Clay Toomey for being our technical backup this evening. My thanks to you, Mark, and my thanks to you, Jim, for making this another enjoyable episode. Hope you guys have got something good planned for next week. We'll see.
We'll start thinking about that tomorrow. And thanks to you, Tom, as well. You're the real pro on the show, for sure. And thanks for doing what you do and for kind of giving us that backbone, that fundamental structure of what we need here, and keeping us young kids at bay here.
I'm just an old radio horse looking for a stable. That's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been FoosTalk Live. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. FoosTalk Live is a product of Foosball Radio and Inside Foos TV, being brought to you by 518 Prince. Also brought to you by Foosballers the Movie. Also brought to you by FoosballClubsUSA.com. Also Foos by Tony and Foos by Brandon. We hope you'll join us once again for episode 23 next Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. It's FoosTalk Live.
And we'll see you, Foosin'.